Joyride, 1957, a novel of intrigue by J.P. Wasmiller, Chapter 108. James parked the country squire in the hotel lot as he was the legal driver, at least for the next 24 hours. He went up to his room and lay down for a little nap. He woke a couple hours later. It was now 7 o'clock, and he was getting hungry. He took a long shower, then headed out to the restaurant where he was to meet his beautiful redhead. As he left the lobby of the Olympic Hotel, he walked out into a fog of London proportions. In fact, he never remembered a fog that thick in London. He could see very little, but enough to make his way toward the restaurant, a seafood specialty place. He preferred a good steak to seafood, but also preferred his red-headed companion to be this evening. So on he went. He soon heard steps behind him. He thought he was the only one on the street. But soon the steps got louder, and eventually their volume stabilized. He wondered who would be following him. He had seen none of the usual suspects that were following him in Canada since Canada, but he was sure that people would now be attempting to locate him, especially since everyone seemed to know what he was after, a treasure that was priceless. He took a left turn at the next corner to see if the followers would follow. To his chagrin, the follower also turned left. Crossed the street at the next block and turned right. He was still a few blocks from his restaurant. As he walked up to the next block, he suddenly saw a spark come out of the fog. There was no noise, but he felt a sting on his left pinky finger. As a soldier, he instinctively hit the ground, and he began to crawl away from the spark. He kept crawling and initially heard footsteps, but soon they stopped. Then he saw a couple more sparks from the same area as the first one. He kept crawling away from them, and soon the footsteps resumed. He breathed a sigh of relief as the footsteps were now fading. Finally, he stood and put his now bleeding little finger in his mouth. It was just a superficial scratch. He had handkerchiefs, and he used one to wrap it up, and then he resumed his walk to the restaurant. He tiptoed at first, then began to walk as he heard no other footsteps. Soon he was at the restaurant, and he took a seat in the bar. He waited for about 15 minutes, then double-checked to see if the redhead had left him any messages. She hadn't. He had another Coca-Cola, and after sipping it dry, felt a hand in his shoulder and two warm lips on his cheek. "Hi, baby," the perfumed voice said softly. "Hi, sweetheart, how are you this foggy evening?" he said, and on the evening went. After the perfect evening, they walked back to his hotel arm in arm. They both noticed a priest sitting in the lobby. The redhead thought it might be the same one that had been there the previous evening. He did not seem to notice them. The two went up to James' room and spent the next couple of hours in non-wedded bliss. James was truly smitten with this redhead's beauty and her sweetness. "Can you stay until morning?" he asked. "I promise I'll wake you in time for work," he pleaded. "Baby, I can't. I've got so much to do tomorrow before work. I'm so sorry. When will I see you next?" she said during the next kiss. "You work tomorrow? Let's see. I've got to leave on the morning after tomorrow on my research travels. What time are you off tomorrow evening?" he said, hoping against hope of seeing her once more before he left. This woman was unlike any he had ever met. "I get off at 11. I'll see you then at the Metropolitan Grill," she said without hesitation. "I tell you what, come at 9 for dinner. I'll try and wait on you." The two fell into a long, long kiss that finally broke when both were completely out of air. She finally got up, dressed slowly, and after some goodbye kisses and sweet nothings, she left the room. After she left, he stared at the ceiling for a long, long time. He eventually realized that he was supposed to meet the little blonde Ford salesman in room 1022, the room just above him. He was so in afterglow, so in love, so not in the mood for any shenanigans, so tired that he'd not want to go anywhere except into dreamland. But after a while he gave in. After all, she'd given him a beautiful Ford to drive for nothing. He threw on his khaki pants and the white hotel bathrobe. He then took the elevator up one floor to room 1022 and knocked. There was no answer. He knocked again and then a third time more loudly. Finally he called through the door, but again there was no response. As an afterthought he tried the knob, and to his surprise it opened up. He peered into the room but saw no one. In fact, as he walked around the room identical to his, it appeared to be unoccupied. The bed was perfect, no towels out of place, and nothing in the closet. He stared around for a couple of minutes and finally threw up his hands. No one home. he said aloud. He was actually quite relieved, but still curious. He went back to down one floor to room 922 and collapsed in a heap on his bed of maps.